The narcissist never fails to disappoint. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lisa, and in this video, I want to discuss how the narcissist can always manage to find a way to disappoint you. Now, in the beginning of the relationship with the narcissist, everything seems wonderful, right? It's almost perfect, like it's too good to be true. They do a lot for you during this time. You get showered with attention, affection, and gifts. It's an amazing time, and you're just loving life with them. And of course, you come to expect the same treatment as the relationship continues and evolves. Unfortunately, though, this golden period is short-lived, and the narcissist starts their critiquing and their criticizing, their put-downs, and other abusive behavior. Then there's just the real subtle things that the narc does, the words and the actions that are just disappointing. For example, maybe they invite you to attend a party with them or an event. So you're excited about this fun thing that you're going to do together. You're anticipating a good time. And the narcissist knows this. But once you arrive at the party or the event, they ignore you. They're talking and laughing with everyone there, and you're just kind of left out. Now, they might have been happily chatting along with you in the car all the way there, but once there's other people for them to interact with, it's like you become invisible. Almost without fail, whenever I attended events with my ex, he just wouldn't introduce me to the people he was talking to. It was so weird, and I thought it was really rude and disrespectful. Now, these would be people that he already knew, but that I was just meeting for the first time. Most of the time, these people had to ask who I was before he would actually introduce me, or they just introduced themselves to me. Even though I'd be standing right beside him, I had several people ask, now, who are you and how do you know Randy? And when I would say, I'm his wife, I could see the surprise in their faces because of the way he acted. Now, I'm not shy, and I can certainly handle being in social gatherings all by myself. So I just learned to kind of move away from him, since he was ignoring me and excluding me from the conversation anyway. And on several occasions, I was actually approached by men who thought I was single, and they thought I was there alone, even though I was wearing a wedding ring. Now, my ex is 13 years older than me, so many people didn't see us as a couple, and they actually thought the age difference was a little greater than it was. So I would get hit on by these guys with my husband just right across the room. And when I would say, I'm married, and point out my husband to them, I actually had a couple of guys say, he must not be too smart of a guy to leave you by yourself. If you were my wife, I'd want you by my side. Now, I've heard lines like this many times, and it wasn't really flattering, but I did wonder, well, why doesn't he feel that way? Why does he invite me to these things just to ignore me? Now, also, I never mentioned these kind of comments to him because I knew that somehow it would be my fault, that I must be flirting with him or something, when the whole reason that I went with him was because he invited me. I wanted to be there with him and spend time with him. Now, the same thing would happen whenever we would go out to eat with other people. It was like I wasn't even there. Now, it wasn't like I needed to be getting every second of his attention or anything like that. I just wanted to be included, to be part of the conversation like any normal person. There was a time when I bought him a new comforter for our bed. It was an anniversary present. So I went and made up the bed with a new comforter on it, and then I brought him upstairs into our bedroom to surprise him. And his response was, does that color really go with everything? And I could just feel like the balloon deflating. I mean, my feeling of happiness in presenting him with the comforter quickly turned to disappointment. Now, on my birthday one year, he bought plane tickets for my kids to come visit us. And I was so excited about this. I was really happy about it. But while they were there, he set them both down and chastised them for not making up their beds. Now, our stepson, my stepson, his son, lived with us. And he almost never made up his bed. And I really didn't care. It was his room. And for the most part, his dad didn't care either. But he certainly criticized my kids who were visiting because they didn't make up their bed. And he even told my son that he was being a burden. And this little chat that he had with him went on for an hour. So what started out as something really fun that I was really looking forward to quickly became a huge disappointment, to say the very least. Now, another time, my stepson and I decided to surprise him with a new grill for his birthday. And I was really excited to see his reaction to this. But all I got was chastised, criticized, and he returned the grill to the store. He didn't even keep it. And I did a whole thing on Narcissist and gift giving. I've dropped the link to that video if you want to watch it. Yet another time, I decided to surprise him by setting up a romantic atmosphere with candles, lingerie, the works, all of that. Now, he was only going to be gone for about 20 minutes or so, which he was. So he came back home shortly, and literally there was really no reaction except that he was irritated with me, saying I should have known he was tired. And that was not only disappointing, but I couldn't believe any man would react this way. And from that moment on, I never did anything like that ever again. Not once. Now, I do want to mention here that my ex was not only impotent, but he had the lowest libido of any man I have ever known. So he was a huge disappointment in that area altogether throughout the relationship, which is a completely other video, a totally other topic. Now, what was ironic is that throughout the majority of the relationship, I held him in such high esteem. My expectations were so high, and that was all due to the way that he treated me in the beginning. So I really enjoyed doing things for him that I believed that would make him happy. After all, I loved him, and I wanted to put a smile on his face. I wanted to see him happy, but it was so rare that my attempts at this actually worked. The only things that I gave him that I can clearly remember him actually liking were two things. One, I bought him a drone, and he really liked that. And the other was I gave him a really expensive pair of prescription Maui Jim sunglasses, which he actually complained about the first pair because he said the lenses were too dark. So what do? I went and I got him another pair of the exact same sunglasses, the same ones, but with lighter lenses, and he did like those. Now look, most of us really enjoy doing things for the person we love. We enjoy giving them gifts that we believe that they'll enjoy. In fact, for most people, it's usually more fun to give the gift than to receive one. I mean, I'm that way for sure. And to anticipate how that person is going to react to whatever it is that we've done for them or whatever we've given to them. So it's disappointing and disheartening when the reaction is just not caring, or worse, when you feel like you're actually in trouble and you've done something wrong. And then there's the way that the narcissist lets you down emotionally. So say you've had a hard day at work, you're really tired, you don't feel well, or someone you love is ill, or maybe they've passed away. And you expect your partner to be there for you, just to listen to you and console you. And the narcissist doesn't do this. In the last months of our relationship, I was out of town visiting family, and my son suffered the greatest tragedy he had suffered ever in his life. He was 25 years old, and he was dating a beautiful girl who he was absolutely smitten with. He had bought her a ring, and he was planning to propose to her. Now, on this particular day, he had a very special day planned for the two of them, and he was very excited about it. On his way to her house to pick her up, he received a call from her mother who told him, "I'm so sorry, but she died last night." Yeah. This was so sudden, and it was so shocking. And the amount of grief and sorrow that my son experienced was heartbreaking. I felt so helpless as a mom because there was nothing I could do to ease his pain. It shook my entire family. It shook her family, grieving the loss of this young girl who was only 24 years old and watching my son become unbelievably grief-stricken and depressed. So, of course, I called my husband to tell him what had happened. And of course, I was extremely upset and extremely emotional. And I cried hysterically over the phone to him. I had been trying to be strong for my son, but I felt I could freely express myself and my emotions to my husband. And I was wrong. Boy, was I wrong. He was only interested in hearing about, well, how did it happen? How did she die? He just wanted the story. It was obvious that he could not care less about how anyone was feeling about it. And the next day, he called me and literally chastised me for calling him in such a hysterical fashion. And I listened in shock and in complete disbelief as he went on and on about my reaction to this girl's death and how my reaction was, quote, over the top. Then, during that same conversation, he asked, when was I coming home? And he was actually irritated when I told him, right now, I needed to be exactly where I was, which was with my son. And I remember thinking to myself, he'd have that very same level of empathy, meaning none, if it was me, if I had died. And to this day, I still believe that. The narcissist fails at many things in life. They fail to be a good spouse. They fail to keep their promises. They fail to have your back, and they fail to support you emotionally. They fail to even be a decent person. But one thing they don't fail at is they don't fail to disappoint. And especially when you really need them, when you really need them to be there for you, to listen to you, to comfort you, to stick up for you, to be strong for you in your moment of weakness, in your moment of vulnerability, or in your moment of pain or sadness. This is when they fail you the most. And if you are the narcissist's new supply and you're listening to this thinking, well, he hasn't failed me, he's always there for me, just give it time, sweetie, because in time you'll be saying the exact same things I just did. So let me know in the comments, how did your narcissist disappoint you? What kind of things did they do to let you down in some way? Let's talk about it. Thank you all so much for taking the time to listen, and may your day be blessed.